Right, so what is up, guys? The Strong Boys 19 here. This is going to be my third live stream that I decided to do, and I actually was trying my best to get this as professional as I can, but this is now the third fucking take. The first time that I did it, I didn't realize I didn't click the go live button on the studio page on YouTube, the live streaming page. Second time, I did go live with YouTube with the OBS software, and the audio was out. No audio. So this is now the third time attempting to get this going. So I was originally going to be doing this right at the time of 8 o'clock. I am so sorry that it's 8:15. That's me being unprofessional. This is really at my worst. But anyway, enough of that. How are you guys doing? And I see some commenting from two people. Thank you very much for viewers. So I have been keeping myself positive and hydrated. I've been drinking quite a lot of water, but just like I said for the occasion, I thought I would drink a bottle of Budweiser from a previous video that I talked about that. And here it is. So you can see a bit of the bubbles. Yeah. So what have I been doing today? I've been making ideas of a new song very privately. It's very psychedelic inspired because last night I was watching all the episodes of Devin Townsend's playlist of the making of Empath, and I was really focusing on what I was listening to from what he personally was talking about, why he wanted to make the album, this or that, and that really got me thinking. So the psychedelic inspired song that I was making, I took inspiration from what Devin Townsend said, and the reason why I decided to make some of the songs that I love making is because that I try to make them, as separate as possible for sound. I like to have various songs where they have a sound of their own, and that really got me thinking. Of course, I have made various songs previously that are like inspired by this or that genre, but I think with the future plans of making original songs, I like to have these original songs come out with whatever comes out in my head really naturally, instead of something really forced. I could really go on about it, but that's a beautiful thing about being a musician. You have to make something that sounds good, but you have to become really inspired and interested by whatever kind of music that you want to make and put your own spin to it, have your own craft. So, speaking of Devin Townsend, I had been playing quite a lot of industrial metal music and a lot of Strapping Young Lad. The album City, I became so addicted, like a lot. The song Oh My Fucking God is just in my head like that, like multiple repeats. It's just so frantic and a crazy song. So yeah, I was really blown away by how incredible that album was. Alien's fantastic. I had mentioned about Strapping Young Lad from my video that I recorded outside, saying that I was at my most positive, and I still feel really good. I still feel really positive. And today is actually 40 years. Speaking of other music topics, it's now 40 years since the passing of Ian Curtis from Joy Division, which is insanity to me. I really like Joy Division, but I had made a video a year ago called The Scariest Rock Band, and I had to put Joy Division on that video. It's not that they are scary, that I don't want to listen to them. It's just that they are fantastic, but it's just the very weary, moody, and intensity of the music they've delivered, especially with Curtin's really atmospheric but very dark and deep lyrics. They are so reflective. They are just really, like, I would say abysmal, but not in a bad way. They are abysmal and, intensifying. And Joy Division were about to go to America for their tour from the album's release of Closer that had came out. But obviously Joy Division had to be, fading away because of the news about Curtis. And I actually played Love Will Tear Us Apart like half an hour ago before I started this stream for the third time, and that song gives me chills. And the rest of Joy Division would later on form the band New Order. Now, controversially, I really like New Order, possibly maybe more than Joy Division. Joy Division's a great band, but New Order, I really like the sound to the very futuristic sound of the electronic music. And, I really, really liked the ideas of the rest of the band making a totally different sound with um, a new genre making band that pioneers, well, really grows the strength of the electronic scene. That's what I meant to say. So anyway, after the previous two fuck ups, I hope this one is going to be the best take. Thank you to the people that have tuned in, and I'll just read some of the comments. If you want to say anything for this stream, please type them right away. Hence the title of the box. It's More Music Chats and Sharing Album Questions. So we are going to be asking each other's questions about anything when it comes to albums, album cover art, production, concepts, etc. John Daly covers. Have you ever thought of making battle jackets of your favorite bands? I actually have a leather jacket, but um, I don't really have like an inspiration of making one. But I do have quite a bundle of patches, so I have, still quite a lot of patches from a black hoodie that I still have, since a few years ago. Patches from bands like Slipknot to Korn, and I still have a patch of Avenged Sevenfold when I used to, quite dig them. And I have a Rolling Stones patch over there somewhere, and other stuff. But I do like the looks and the idea of patches of battle jackets. They are really cool, but you know, I don't have any plans for one really. Um, well, we didn't see you get angry and throw the microphone at the floor, the same as Axl Rose. Yeah, well, the microphone is actually on the laptop, like a built-in microphone. But yeah, Axl Rose. I remember that moment. I'm sorry. If you like Guns N' Roses, if you like Axl Rose, that's great, but I can't stand Axl. No disrespect to anybody that likes Guns N' Roses, and that's me being very opinionated, and this is the only bottle of Budweiser that I will be drinking, because what's the point of having too much beers just to get shit-faced? Which is not the point, because I want to interact properly. So, I'm just personally my own boss to, think properly and address words properly. Um, do you have the Million Dollar Quartet album? I actually don't have that album yet. And speaking of people that mention um, albums from the previous stream, I still have to look back at the previous comments and check out the albums that I haven't checked out because, like I said earlier, I've been listening to Strapping Young Lad, and I've been coming back listening to a lot of Fear Factory and played Obsolete quite a lot whilst I was walking outside with the headphones, and I still love Obsolete. Obsolete used to be my third favourite Fear Factory album, but I would definitely put it at number two. And I think the reason why Obsolete is my second favourite now, it is because that it is really the most, possibly one of the most melodic arrangements of vocals for Burton C. Bell, especially for songs like High Tech Hate to Resurrection, Timelessness, and the music to it so powerful and really intriguing. Stellar songs, Shock, Edge Crusher, and Descent. I could go on. I still think Digimortal is my favourite Fear Factory album. Then it's Obsolete now, and Demanufacture is still a gem. I had played that album a few weeks ago, and it's still a classic album. Strong concept album. So yeah, but I'll have to check out the Million Dollar Quartet album. Who has better albums, Marilyn Manson or Rammstein? I did like Marilyn Manson, though I have never been a big fan. I really respect Brian Warner as an artist on the way he wants to cast out his originality out. But even though that he's like a big name in the industrial scene, it's it's a scene of his albums that I respect, but I've never been a fan. But, I gotta give him props. Not because of the controversy, but for me, I quite liked Brian as just, an artist in himself, just as a musician. But I think Rammstein is, for me, better because I am really a big, big fan of Rammstein. I have all of their albums. They really mean a lot to me. And I connect with them more than Marilyn Manson. But that's just, me. I have no disrespect for Marilyn at all, but I love Rammstein more. And your favorite song and album by Slipknot? My favorite song from Slipknot is Before I Forget, although on We Are Not Your Kind, Red Flag almost took the spot as my new favorite Slipknot track. There's so many songs that I love from the band, but my favorite is still Before I Forget for nostalgia, and I was obsessed immensely with the music video, seeing the masks that were visible than the band from that video. It was so cool to me. My favorite Slipknot album is always the self-titled. I love Iowa as much, but the first album is my favorite. Sub Tyler, I had seen your comments when I was rambling on so much. And how am I doing? Is everything good? Is the connection and the picture and audio quality good? Please let me know because, I always not get worried, but I always sometimes, get a bit frustrated from the connection according to YouTube and to the stream that I'm doing. So let me know. City is a great album. Yeah, it is now one of my, I guess I'll have to just put it in, one of my top 5 industrial metal albums because I played it that much. So I adore that album. Demanufacture is my favourite Fear Factory album. I love Obsolete as well. Fear Factory to me have made, like a classic trilogy. Demanufacture is a concept album. inspired by the Terminator and Blade Runner. Obsolete is a different concept album, but it follows that nature of man versus machine. Digimortal is a concept album, and it just continues that, but as like a finale kind of thing of man and machine. But I still love Fear Factory. Why Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, didn't want to record or take photos of Elvis and the Beatles together, that was weird. I really don't know. I just I just would have liked to see, a great part of a photo of music history, because the Beatles have met Elvis Presley, and correct me wrong if I am, but I don't know if Elvis was like, egotistical or a bit show offy, because I remember hearing comments from Ringo's experience with the Beatles when they met Elvis, but I could be wrong about that. Please let me know. But it's still a very big, special part of their histories. But if I would have liked to see a photo of them with the Beatles together, that would be special, because the Beatles have got a photo of themselves with Little Richard. God bless him. Anyway, yeah. But also, imagine if the Beatles did record a song, or even if Elvis records a song and have the Beatles as like guests, but guest harmonies. That would have been a brilliant combination. The audio in the live stream is okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. And I don't want to mispronounce your name, but I'm not going to attempt it. But I am seeing your comments. Your favourite song by The Who? My favourite song by The Who is Won't Get Fooled Again. Won't Get Fooled Again is absolutely still one of the best top 10 rock songs of all time. They are personally my second favourite band of all time. And for rock as well, the Beatles being number one. The Who used to be my favourite, but you can't go wrong with the Beatles. I've been a fan of The Who for so many years. They've made classic album after classic album. Love so many of their songs. Pinball Wizard, Baba O'Reilly, Love Ain't for Keeping, 515, The Real Me, Love Reign Over Me, Squeeze Box, and However Much I Booze, Blue, Red and Grey, to Behind Blue Eyes, I'm One, etc. So many legendary songs. And the last record that I played from The Who was The Who Sell Out. And that is another gem of an album that I got to call a classic. But Quadrophenia is always my favourite. My favourite Who album. Then it is Who's Next, Tommy, and The Who Sell Out. I really do love a lot of the songs from The Who by Numbers, which is possibly The Who's most underrated album. I have all of their albums, and I really do love The Who so much. Maybe Tom Parker didn't want Elvis overshadowed. Ringo Starr was mistaken. The Beatles was a fan of Elvis Presley. I actually don't really understand if there was some bit of uncomfortable feelings from Ringo. I mean, I don't really know how they actually feel. I mean, the rest of the band were really thrilled to meet Elvis. But I remember that part from the Beatles' history. But with the Beatles, they've become at that time the biggest and successful band of all time, and they still are today. But the popularity of Elvis is still as important and as revolutionary of rock and roll and music history. So yeah, I'm not really a big historian of both Elvis or the Beatles, but I love the Beatles as much still my favourite rock band. Used to be The Who. And speaking of rock music, I'll have to go back to the Rolling Stones and review Voodoo Lounge. Tyler, by the way, your request for me to review Mr. Bungle's self-titled album, I had actually recorded this album review many weeks ago, but I didn't edit it or upload it obviously yet. I do apologize, but I'll get onto that. I've actually made a few weeks ago as well my movie review for Rob Zombie's Halloween, his remake on Halloween, and that will be up possibly later this week or next week. I don't know, depends if I'm in the mood, but I will be uploading my Mr. Bungle review first. Keep the comments coming, guys. How am I doing? 20 plus minutes, 4 viewers. Share this stream around, people, and let's get to spread some more of the joy and the interaction. By the way, if you have seen my previous take of my live stream before I started it again with this take, if it's still public on the channel, I will delete it after this stream's ended. Yeah, I'll never forgive myself after that. Squeaky chair. That day Elvis and the Beatles played songs. You can find a video on YouTube, Little Richard saying that Elvis is my buddy, my baby, my friend. Yeah. So many legendary icons. So yeah, I've been feeling really good. Been productive, making music, for starters, as I talked about earlier. Kept myself hydrated because I had a bit of a headache, so I drank water, and my brain is now reacting to the Budweiser. Don't worry, I have not been drinking this very, very common, because, why would I? Because that's not really who I am. I love a drink, but I'm not a big, heavy drinker. And I actually made a post of my live stream announcement on my Instagram, my public Instagram. Hey, that's fine. I look forward to the Mr. Bungle and Halloween reviews. Thank you, Tyler. So let's have a go at sharing some questions of albums. You can ask me any question of an album or albums, and I'll ask you guys the same things. So, go for it. For my update video, guys, I haven't bought a lot. I'm sorry, but I'm taking a break from online spending because I've spent a lot, which I'm not going to say, but, I don't want to just go overboard with my online spending, but I have some stuff to show you. Obviously, like I said, not a lot, but I will be doing my update video for the end of this month. I like to keep myself updated with whatever stuff I purchase, and I show them to you. But if there isn't an update video in the end of June or July, that is why. So yeah. Also, speaking of metal music, I've been coming back to my phase of discovering bands, and I was playing Testament. I discovered Testament properly. So since a few days ago, I was playing the albums so far from The Legacy to Low. And I had bought this, and I had not played it. This was the first Testament album, still is for now, that I have bought of Souls of Black. Really cool cover art, besides the price tag is covering it. But I really liked the sound of Testament. If I have to pick my favourite so far, it has to be either maybe Practice What You Preach or the New Order, although I really liked the stuff from Low, Chuck Billy's vocals sounds really good with his growls, and his vocals on Early Testament is staggering, brilliant vocalist. And it's quite a shame that Testaments are so underappreciated. They should be known as like one of the uh, top 5 underrated thrash greats. And speaking of thrash, I need to dive into Havoc's new album 5, and I got to check out Sepultura's album Quadra. Need to go back to them, and I was really pleased with my experience of discovering metal so much more again, and I really hope that um, it's still going to put me in a big nostalgic edge of just listening to metal than anything else, because I used to do that a lot. See on YouTube, Elvis meets the Beatles. Elvis's wife also met the Beatles and tell that the Beatles were so nervous to see their icon Elvis Presley. Tyler, I saw on Radio Music that you rated Ministry's Psalm 69 4 out of 5. I'm glad you finally got around to them. Yeah, that was my first time listening to the album, and some of the stuff reminded me of the Nailbomb album Point Blank, which I thought it's over here, but no, I think it's over there somewhere. But I love Nailbomb, but it did strangely remind me of Nailbomb on some tracks. Also, Souls of Black is a good album. The track The Legacy is one of the best. I really liked some of the ballad stuff on Testament's repertoire for now, but I gotta say, their lead guitarist, such a monster. And I think, if I remember correctly, it's Alex. I could be wrong. Yeah, I think it's Alex. Great lead guitarist. I didn't expect his lead to be so clean and fast. Such a big, fresh sound. Brilliant skills. So, yeah, Testament is possibly becoming one of my new favourite thrash bands. For other thrash bands, I love Evil and Havoc. Havoc is another fantastic band I've just said earlier. Your best album and your favourite song by Led Zeppelin. My favourite Led Zeppelin album has always been this one, Led Zeppelin 2. This is my favourite Led Zeppelin album. And for song, it used to be Rock and Roll, but I think my favourite now, yes, I've just remembered, my favourite Led Zeppelin song now, well, for a long while now, is In the Light from Physical Graffiti. I was originally, strangely, going to say No Quarter, because that is one of my favourites ever from Zeppelin. But In the Light, I love that song so much. If you ever get the chance to listen to The Land of Rape and Honey, yes, I will get to that album really soon, Tyler. And is it actually raining? Oh, it has been raining. Thought I smelled something outside. No, it was not a fart. Well, why do I say that? It's not from outside, you twit. I don't know. I'm not really tipsy yet, but that was just some gibberish shit. So yeah, album questions. Ask me anything first on albums, and please keep them coming, whether it's just on albums themselves or artwork, production, like I said. So spread the messages. Your thoughts on Nightwish and Arch Enemy. I really like Nightwish, but I don't mind any era from the band. I think each era from Nightwish is different from each other, especially with the different vocalists. Like some of the songs from Dark Passion Play and Imaginarium. But I think Tarja was my favorite Nightwish vocalist. But I have seen some comments from some people that they actually prefer the latest singers over Tarja. I could be wrong, but I'll have to revisit Nightwish. And as goes with Arch Enemy, I really liked some Arch Enemy, and the sound of the music, from what I've heard, like Nemesis. That is a really good song, brilliant, beastly guitar work, and you know, a big in your face sound, amazing vocals. Some some female vocalists are, sounding as beastly as the others for growls. Like um oh, what was that band? Um is it Tarja? Tarja? I'm trying to remember. Um I can't remember, guys. If you know what I'm talking about, please let me know, because I can't think straight at the moment. Um, why do I have to say that twice? Have you seen the Rolling Stones live? No, I haven't. I would love to see the Rolling Stones live, but the problem is, before quarantine happened, the ticket prices are so highly estimated. It is ridiculous. Yes, I have spent quite a lot for Slipknot, for the VIP hot seat package spot for January of 2020 for the We Are Not Your Kind tour. But um, I have seen um, I have seen bands live that don't cost as highly as the Rolling Stones. That reminds me, I was going to see Fleetwood Mac before Lindsay was fired, but the prices were stupid. So there's nothing we could do about that. I have seen The Who live, and they played. My first time seeing them, it was on the Quadrophenia and More tour. They've played Quadrophenia in its entirety, and that was incredible. Incredible. And they played many big hits after the whole concept album. So that was a blast. But yeah, I would love to see the Rolling Stones. Are you talking about Tarja's solo work? No, no, I'm not, mate. Sorry. I know the name, but actually, I'm gonna have a look. I'm gonna have a look at the video that Beth Roars did. That Beth Roars had done a reaction video to uh, this band that I was trying to remember, and it is from one of her reaction videos. Beth Roars, one of my favorite YouTubers as a vocal coach, and she is amazing. And I'm not that strong of a singer myself, but I love watching her stuff. Oh, what was it? I'm trying to find it, guys, so bear with me. Oh, this is a silly comment. Who has a better album? Who has a better cover album? Excuse me. Rainbow or Iron Maiden? You mean album cover or? Well, I suppose you mean album covers. I love a lot of Maiden's album covers. Rainbows I like, but with Rising, beautiful. I love the artwork um, for some of the other ones as well. When Dio used to be in the band. But for Iron Maiden, some of my all-time favourites. Power Slave being my favourite Maiden album cover. I love I love Brave New World's cover art. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, The X Factor. Yeah, I know some people say that's pretty bad and Eddie looking pretty ugly, but I always loved it. Um, anyway, back on track. No, not Tarja. Ginger, that was it. Ginger, vocalist from Ginger, mad, insane vocalist. So that's what I was trying to remember. I'm not even pretty smashed. Well, I don't want to be. But this is the only beer that I will ever have. So it's 10 to 9 according to my time, and I had started the stream 15 minutes late. So. Okay, so I want to ask you guys some questions. What is your favorite concept album of all time? Not just for one genre, of just of any album, one album from any genre, and also favorite album cover artworks. Because I had made a couple of videos of my favorite album covers of all time, top 10 wise for rock and metal, some years ago, and that was one of my favorite videos actually. But I am really curious to ask you guys the same things. For other music that I've been playing, I had been playing this album, Load by Metallica. Now, this is going to be a very controversial opinion, guys. I love Metallica. I love Ride the Lightning and Master of Puppets. And obviously, Kill 'Em All and Justice for All. But I think this is so underrated. This is one of my favourite Metallica albums. I actually prefer this over the Black Album. This is not as bad as many people say that it is. It took me a long while to fully get into what's going on. But I think there are some great songs on this. I remember, shockingly, when I was in my teens, I wasn't a fan of some songs on this. The Outlaw Torn being one of them. That's a great song. Great song for me. Egg My Bitch. I prefer that one over Enter Sandman. 2x4, Until It Sleeps. King Nothing. King Nothing's my favourite on here. A few generic lyrics, like Poor Twisted Me, it's pretty repetitive. And Ronnie, really good one, really bluesy. Mama Said. Now, I don't care what anyone says. Mama Said is a good song. I really like Mama Said. That's one of the highlights on Load. I know Metallica fans always reacted really badly for that song, but I think from the way James had become, at that time and previously, really personal and wants to reflect his troubled past involving his time from his relationship with his mother, I can relate to the guy. Well, not relate. I could, feel for the guy. That's what I mean to say. For a song like that, and also with other ones. So, Load is a fantastic album, but I see some comments coming in more. Aerosmith's cover from the album Draw the Line is the same as Rainbow Long Live Rock and Roll. Is it? Let me have a look. I I don't really know if that is true or not. But if it is the same, I'll be proven wrong. The Downward Spiral is probably my favourite concept album. Yes, Nine Inch Nails. I really liked the sound of Nine Inch Nails, but I have to dive into them properly. Um, I love Mama Said. Yeah, that's a great song in my opinion. That's not from a comment. That's just from me. Anyway, Draw the Line. Draw the Line. Aerosmith. It's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. So I guess I've been proven wrong. Very similar. And Load is a good album. I have that on CD. I'm glad it's getting more love nowadays. I do not understand why Metallica got so much shit after the Black Album. The Black Album is really good, but for me, there's something about Load I prefer much more. As I said from my video on overrated albums, I had said that the Black Album is one of the overrated ones. Um, Personally, because I just don't see it as one of the best albums of all time. Yes, as I said, it's really good. It's a big, important album, the biggest selling heavy metal album of all time. But I don't see it as one of the best top three Metallica albums, or as just one of the best ever of all time. And that's my personal reason why. Um, Lulu cover art is great, but the album is really awful. If you want to see my review for Lulu, check out my video of Lulu on the segment called Sabotage Bad Albums. And that review was really reflecting from when I first felt about the album, and when I reviewed the album, I have given it more of a different feeling to it. But it is still, for me, one of the worst albums of all time. But if you want to see my proper analysis and full review, check out that video. Speaking of that segment, I should be doing more. I think the next one is possibly going to be um, Live It Up by Crosby, Stills and Nash, or Morbid Angel's Illo Divinium Insanus. Bleeding Me and The Outlaw Torn are two of their best songs. Bleeding Me was not a favourite for me at first. I thought it was really boring and such a drag because it was on for 8 minutes, but then I started to replay it more and more with the album as a whole, and I like it much, much more. And James's vocals were really good on that song. And The Outlaw Torn, very psychedelic. I still have no idea why The Outlaw Torn was not one of my favourites when I was younger. Maybe it's because that I wanted to see some more, some more of the reactions of myself of the thrashier side of Metallica. But I think it's a great song. Sorry, guys, got distracted. Let's have a look. The Black Album is good, but not as good as people say. Sorry, I'm going to respond to a close friend of mine on here. Yeah, Black Album is good, but not as good as people say. I am glad it helped uh, get metal into the mainstream at least. Same with Countdown to Extinction. Countdown to Extinction, that is a really good one as well. But when it comes to Megadeth, I need to review their albums. I know I kept saying it, but I'm going to review Euthanasia possibly later this week, and then I will get the Megadeth discography relevant on the channel again. But I have expressed better opinions on Euthanasia because I remember when I said on my Super Collider review that I thought Euthanasia wasn't like a very very good album, but the more I thought about it, when I revisited it, my opinions have changed. I was in my younger self, okay. um, I've seen your video review of Lulu. Oh, okay, okay, yeah. Lulu is an album that I still think is really bad, but at the same time I respect it. So I am still a fan of Metallica and a fan of the Velvet Underground. To be honest, I was hearing rock and roll from the 50s and 60s. Still holds on today. Um, Still holds on today. Hearing and pop and the disco music doesn't hold on today. The songs are not great. I love listening to music from the 50s, and the 60s and the 70s are my personal favorite eras of music. But the 90s is, a big phase for me at the time, and the 2000s to say the least. Though I think 2010s for rock and metal have got some amazing albums from many artists. Um, Disco isn't really that relevant anymore. It isn't that relevant for, you know, for its purpose. Yes, it is still a very big, important genre, but disco nowadays is like just faded away, strangely. So, yeah. Anyway, so I really, really like the stream so far, guys. We are almost 10 minutes to an hour in, and let's keep this going. I wish I would have played music in the background, but I don't want to get copyrighted because I actually looked back at one of the previous live streams many years ago, and it did get claimed when I was playing the Crystal Ship from the Doors on the background. Excuse me. While I was away out of my bedroom, I think I didn't look back at the video. Italo disco from the 80s is great. I like disco music. I do like the genre, but I'm not really like an avid listener of the kind of that kind of music. Your favorite song by Dio? My favorite song by Dio, I will have to say I haven't really heard a lot, but I am still at the premise of discovering many albums. But Dio's work, from what I've heard, is really great. My favorite Dio song, I think, for now, maybe either Holy Diver or Stand Up and Shout. Because they're bangers. A lot of bangers from Dio. In terms of my favorite Dio era Black Sabbath song, possibly Neon Nights. There are loads. Amazing Sabbath Dio songs. Children of the Sea to um, Lady Evil, Sign of the Southern Cross Turn Up the Night, Computer God, TV Crimes, I, Time Machine. But it has to be Neon Nights for me. So far, maybe. Rock and pop songs in the 80s were so cheesy. For example, Bon Jovi and Poison. I don't mind the 80s. There are some great stuff from the 80s, like the Stone Roses, to obviously some of the thrash stuff, obviously the Big Four and Testament, and you know, Motorhead. But in terms of what you're saying, yeah, the 80s have not been like a big favorite genre decade for me. Bon Jovi, he's such a meme. Such a meme. John Bon Jovi. You know, when it comes to living on a prayer, I can't stand that song. Also, it's my life. Fucking hate that song. You Give Love a Bad Name. I respect Bon Jovi, but he's never been a favourite for me. Be mindful and wise. Hello there, mate. Hi, Greg. Do you have any Agalloch CDs? I just ordered The Mantle, which I consider a 10 out of 10 album. Oh my god. Agalloch. That's another band I need to have in the collection. Thank you for reminding me. The Mantle is a 10 out of 10. It is my favourite Agalloch album. I have only reviewed one Agalloch album, which was The Serpent and the Sophia, back in 2013. But The Mantle still remains as my favourite in their discography. I love the Chaos AD profile pic. Yes, I was thinking the same way, Tyler. I don't get the appeal of hair/glam metal period. I mean, glam metal, it's pretty much overrated. In my opinion, it's a genre that just doesn't grab me. It's not my cup of tea. I just don't get the appeal. You know, like Metallica and the other big metal bands that have long hair, and even thinking about Pantera era of glam metal, glam metal genre isn't really the scene that I listen to a lot. It's not my scene, because I prefer something to be more either melodic or progressive or something really memorable and addicting to my ears. So I just don't really have the appeal to bash anybody that likes that kind of scene. But it's not my cup of tea. Sorry, got Snapchat notifications messaging one of my closest friends. Um, your favorite album by Deep Purple? I haven't heard all of their stuff yet, man. But my favorite is very obvious. It's Machine Head, but Burn is fantastic. Deep Purple in rock, but Made in Japan is a blast of an album. So that is still one of my all-time favorite albums, top 10 wise. And it still remains as like a big golden gem. I love the Who Live at Leeds, to Band of Gypsies from Jimi Hendrix, to um, you know, BB King Live at the Regal, and Bongo Fury by Frank Zappa, Captain Beefheart, and the Mothers of Invention. Other live albums I really do love. If You Want Blood, You've Got It from AC/DC, etc. Anyway, back to Deep Purple. I have seen that Deep Purple are releasing a new album this year. The last Deep Purple album that I have heard from them is Now What? A few years back. I know they've made Infinite, but I haven't played that album when it came out. Um, I like Skid Row, but they've moved away from the glam style very quickly. Skid Row is a band that I like, but it's just a band that I don't really play at all. It's not a band that I hate, obviously. Excuse me. It's a band that I have credit for. Do you like the music by the Runaways and Joan Jett? I don't mind the Runaways. Joan Jett, for some reason, I'm just not a fan of her singing. I just don't like the sound of her voice that much. Especially hearing I Love Rock and Roll an abysmal amount of times. Every time I hear it, you know, it's okay, but once I hear it, you know, more and more, it just starts to, bore me. Joan Jett, I like for herself being an icon, but not for me. Def Leppard, High and Dry is one of the best so-called glam era albums. Def Leppard were a band that I did like when I was younger, seeing music videos like Do You Want to Get Rocked to No, Let's Get Rocked, excuse me. That's the first lyric. Pour Some Sugar on Me. Much respect to the one-handed drummer, by the way. Yeah. Thanks, mate. Chaos AD is, in my opinion, the best Sepultura album and holds a special place with me. Yes, it does the same for me, mate. Chaos AD is still my favourite Sepultura album, but I got to think that Roots is one of my high favourites. It's, for me, a classic. It used to be near perfect, but I revisited this album just because of early Sepultura, and it really brings back a lot of favoritism for me. Love the stuff on this album. I even love the tribal percussion sounds of some of their tracks, and even the Canyon Jam at the end of the album. So, yeah, Sepultura still holds a really, really good place in my heart. Just um, for early eras of loving a metal band. Your favorite heavy metal album from Germany and Finland. My favorite heavy metal album um, for that genre, I don't really know. But for my favorite metal album from the country of Germany, um, I really don't know yet, man. I think I think for now it will possibly have to be Mutter by Rammstein. Finland, um, possibly, um, I don't know. Actually, I mean Fintroll are one of my favourite Finnish metal bands, but I think for Finland albums, I'll have to come back to you, mate. Finland metal is it's just a term that I have to come back to. Listening to um, some Finnish metal bands, and of course with other countries too. I think my favorite for now, my Finnish um, metal album pick possibly um, I don't know. Sorry, I'm researching. Should have done this professionally. Possibly Natfod by Fintroll. Although I do love some Corpiclani. Corpiclani is one of my favourite metal bands of all time. So fun and energetic. Sorry guys, you were talking about Roots for a bit there. um, Same. That album had an influence on me. Your sorry, I read that question. Favorite track off Roots? My favorite used to be Dictatorship, but my favorite, but my thing, but I think my favorite track on Roots. I mean, that song is still one of them, but I think um, Attitude or Ratamahata, Spit, possibly Attitude as my new favorite. Um, where did you hear Slipknot for the first time? It was through TV, through the channels of Kerrang and Scuzz, um, on the UK TV channels, by the way. When I had seen the music video to Duality, that really got me hooked. Be mindful and wise, despite the controversy surrounding the making of the album, Mayhem's De Mysteris Dom Santanas is a classic debut within the black metal. Yes, I do agree. I do love Mayhem's first album. It's still one of my top 10 favorite black metal albums. Satiricon's Dark Medieval Times is always my favorite. Always my favorite black metal album. I said that same album numerous times, but I would really like to come back to that genre. The last black metal album that I have heard previously all the way through was um, Panzerfaust by Dark Throne. Your favorite album and song by Opeth? Sorry, mate, I haven't heard so much Opeth a lot lately. Um, so I can't really choose for now. We are pretty much more than an hour in at this point of the stream. Let's do maybe another hour or half an hour and see where it's going to go from here. The next video, by the way, guys, for those of you that haven't tuned in earlier on, it's going to be my review for the Mr. Bungle self-titled requested albums review, as it is one of my favourite albums of all time too. Don't Fall, I almost let a moon-shaped pool fell to the ground. It is not good. Panzerfaust is a great album from Dark Throne, but Transylvanian Hunger is my favourite. That's a great album as well. But I think Panzerfaust has just so much more grit, more of a groovier, menacing uh, style of these crunchy riffs and punishing vocals, and even Varg of one of the tracks from the album is still great, and I still love the album. No, speaking of Varg, the last black metal album that I have heard was the self-titled album from Burzum, because I wanted to come back to Varg. Okay, actually, guys, you have to talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to be doing my best to come back here really quick. This is not going to happen again. But since I've been drinking this, I need to pee. I need to pee really bad. So bear with me, guys. And I'm back! I would have tried saying that again, but no. Back, guys. Sorry about that. That's the only pee break that will ever happen live on air on the channel. Worst song by Nickelback. I can't say. Because it's not because that... Well, let me explain. I'll have to say this. That Nickelback, they were a band that I actually did like. I was really young, okay? And then they started to be shit, in my opinion, with much more horrible material, lackluster lyrics, and they just got really, really, really generic since the Dark Horse album. But there's one song that I did like, Leader of Men, from the State album. But for Nickelback, worst song, I can't pick. There's so many. Varg Vikernes is a great musician, but a terrible human being. Yeah, love him as a musician, but I just can't really accept some musicians that have done sickening things. Who has the #1 White Album from the Beatles? Yes, I do. I even have the Blu-ray over there somewhere. Yeah, over there. Can't really see it, obviously. Of the music videos. Pecky Peck, Motley. Hi, strong boys. Hope you're okay. Hope you are doing well too, mate. And your missus and Kurt. Just been listening to the new Sparks album. A steady drip, 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 and enjoying some Earn Brew. Yeah, Sparks, man. The last Sparks album that I have played was Hippopotamus, and that's a fantastic album. I need to get to that new album because they are one of my favourite groups of all time. Can't believe it's been 40 years since the tragic death of Ian Curtis. Yes, I know. I had explained that earlier, an hour ago, really, but it still is a shock. A major, um, I would say, just a tragedy for music history. Evanescence or Lacuna Coil. I haven't heard a lot of both bands' material, but I did like some Evanescence and Lacuna Coil. But if I have to pick, maybe Lacuna Coil. And I quite like their cover of Enjoy the Silence too. Anyways, that's all I had to say, Cher, but hope you're doing good, and I will keep watching your live stream. Cheers, mate. You can say anything else, and maybe talk to the other people that's still commenting so far. Tyler, Varg is the black metal version of Phil Spector. Really? Well, yeah, Phil Spector did cause, a really bad crime, and I do not like him at all because of that. I can't stand Phil Spector's crime. Like, obviously that's obvious to say, yeah, but from what he did, just really sickened me. But yeah, I did like Phil Spector's production with the Beatles on the Let It Be album, which was one of the last Beatles albums that I had played. But yeah, Phil Spector, after being the producer for John Lennon as well, in the early 2000s with that crime he committed, no way, no chance. I don't like Slash albums. Fair enough. I think Slash is a really good guitarist. He's a really, really good guitarist. While I've still not been a fan of Guns N' Roses, he is still a brilliant guitar player. Favorite song from Seether? Oh my god, Be Mindful and Wise. I was a big fan of Seether. I still have some of their albums. when I was like 13, 12, 13, I was fanatic induced by Seether with music videos like Truth. I loved that music video. To Remedy, seeing others rise above this, breakdown, um, Driven Under. But I think my favourite Seether song, it has to be something from Disclaimer 2, because that's my favourite Seether album. Yes, I know some people say that they like maybe aren't as strong as they used to be or as, relevant, but I loved Seether. Truth was my favourite. But I think my favourite, I don't know why. It's difficult for me. So many songs on Disclaimer 2 that I love. Gasoline, you know, Fine Again, as you said, to, the early version of Broken before hearing the Amy Lee version. Um, yeah, the Seether with Amy Lee with Broken. But I think my favourite has to be Needles. Possibly Needles. I know some of the lyrics can be pretty cheesy for today, but that was at the time that I was obsessed with a band like Seether. Sorry guys, eating some cake. um, who has better songs, Guns N' Roses or Bon Jovi? All right. Um, for me, if I have to choose, it has to be Guns N' Roses. But I personally don't like the covers of Live and Let Die and Knocking on Heaven's Door, because I think they're just really drab and so bland. But I did like the songs like Garden of Eden, and I thought that was a really good song, so good and quite energetic. But for just hearing the major overplayed singles and seeing the videos many, 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 many more times again, I'm not going there. If you love Guns N' Roses, like I said, that's cool, man. I'm not disrespecting your messages at all. Blue Drum Torso! How are you doing? I haven't seen you for some time. And if you want to say anything else, please say anything. And thank you very much to Pecky Peck, to Tyler, Be Mindful and Wise, and that person. I totally don't want to butcher your name, mate. Um, but for commenting and sharing your thoughts. Guns N' Roses is meh. Yeah, fair enough, mate. So, album questions. Let's get back to that. So I mentioned about album covers and concept albums. Let's say this now. If there's a concept album that you love every song, which one is your main favourite? For Quadrophenia by The Who as my favourite concept album of all time. My favourite, I love all the songs, even the I Am the Sea intro and the instrumentals, but my favourite has to be Bellboy. Bellboy. When I had seen The Who play Keith Moon's theme of Bellboy, I got, I guess, pretty emotional seeing his face on stage when his parts of that song came on when they played that live. It just meant a lot to me because Keith Moon is my favourite drummer, my favourite rock drummer of all time. I love John Bonham, Neil Peart, to Ringo Starr, and many, many others. So Keith Moon means the most to me. I get bored hearing "Knocking on Heaven's Door" by Guns N' Roses. I love the Bob Dylan original. Bob Dylan. Speaking of Bob Dylan, he's releasing his first originals album in 8 years. So I had not known that he was releasing actual new tracks for a new upcoming album. It's going to be out next month, so if you are a Bob Dylan fanatic like me, I am going to check it out. The Smashing Pumpkins, Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness, is your favourite concept album, but what is your favourite song? Is it me, or are you Shizazzle? Because I don't recognise you. If it's a different person, I apologise. If you are Shizazzle, you changed your username. Blue Drum Torso, Metallica albums worst to best. I will be doing a ranking, maybe, of Metallica's discography. But if I haven't got the plans of doing it at all, to be honest, I haven't heard all of Death Magnetic or Hardwired yet. But for the ones I've heard for now, not including Lulu, my least favourite, obviously, Saint Anger. I know it has to have the whole discography, but the ones that I have heard, excuse me, so far, my favourite, my least favourite to Metallica albums, my least favourite to favourite Metallica albums, excuse me, obviously Saint Anger, as I said, then Load to, I think, Load, no, the Black Album, Load, forgot about the Black Album, Load, Kill 'Em All, and Justice for All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. So those are the only two that I need to listen to all the way through. Death Magnetic and Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Though I still can't stand the production from Magnetic. It's so bad. Your favourite... Oh, it's a different person. Sorry, my bad. You have to think of your favourite track on Melancholy. Okay, take your time. Shizazzle. Yes, I remember his picture icon on his Instagram. I'm so sorry to mistaken you. Did I forget Reload? I forgot Reload. Hang on. Saint Anger, least favourite to favourite so far. Saint Anger, Reload, the Black Album, Load. No, I did it again. It's a pretty much like a for now list, really. So Saint Anger, Reload, the Black Album, Load, Kill 'Em All, and Justice for All, Ride the Lightning, and Master of Puppets. So sorry if I have been repeating myself here. But yeah. So yeah, guys, favorite concept album, but pick one, your main favorite song. So I'll be looking forward to see the comments. Bellboy from Quadrophenia is my favorite. For others, like Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd is the title track. Dark Side of the Moon is Us and Them. For Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, I'll have to say possibly maybe the title track. I mean, the whole album's a gem. The whole album is a great gem. Um, Blue Drum Torso. What was Lars thinking using that snare on Saint Anger? I actually think the snare from the rehearsals sound much better than the clanging snare on the album version. It's such an overbearing slop of a bad snare sound. Very overproduced as well, that album. My favourite Metallica albums are Master of Puppets, Kill 'Em All, and the Black Album. Great choices. I really like the Black Album, as I said, but Reload is, more of a favourite. It's a bigger connection for me. So if I have to think of some other concept albums of picking one track that is my main favourite, I'll have to really think hard because there's so many. But What's Going On by Marvin Gaye, now that is another gem that I need to review. But my favourite song, possibly the title track, or I adore the whole album, but Mercy Mercy Me is another high favourite. It's either that song or Inner City Blues, but the title track is a gem. I know I shouldn't be eating, talking with my mouth full. It's very rude. I don't know why, but I made myself laugh a bit there. Enter Sandman, great song. It is. It's a good song, in my opinion, though I think it is possibly the most overrated Metallica song. I actually think I love Ain't My Bitch a bit more. But yeah, Enter Sandman still has its hooks, has its catchiness, so can't complain anything else about that. I actually don't know if this is going to mix well with this. Anyway, Tyler's ranking. Ranking worst to best for Metallica. Saint Anger, Reload, Death Magnetic, Hardwired, Self-Destruct, The Black Album, Load, Kill 'Em All, and Justice for All, Master of Puppets, and Ride the Lightning. So those last few picks are pretty similar. Blue Drum Torso. My favorite concept album is Macabre Dharma, and my favorite song of that album is Coming to Chicago. The first time I heard Iron Maiden was the song Afraid to Shoot Strangers. I do agree. Afraid to Shoot Strangers is actually one of my least favourites from Fear of the Dark. I just don't know why. There's something about the song that doesn't grab me. I mean, I have reviewed all of their albums. But I think Fear of the Dark as an album is above average, though the album cover is one of my favourites from Maiden. That's another one that I love. So we are close to an hour and a half into the stream. 6 people watching. Thank you very much to the people that are watching the stream. It does mean a lot to me that you guys are that interested to tune into the stream and have a good time, just to see me as a person, not just as a YouTuber, being a music fanatic, a musician, but at the end of the day, it's just for fun, and that's the whole purpose of doing this stream. You a fan of Blaze Bayley, Maiden? I really love the X Factor. The Virtual 11 album is not one of my high favourites. I mean, it's never been one of my top 10. Though it isn't that terrible. It's not bad whatsoever. I think it's just above average. What are you drinking, pal? I have been drinking my only bottle of Budweiser. So I just poured the whole thing inside the glass. And I just got cake, slice, and a cup of tea. So I hope my system will be alright. 2 likes, thank you to the people that clicked the thumbs up button. Favorite art cover from Black Sabbath is the first album. That is a really great classic cover. That's one of my high favorites. I think my favorite Black Sabbath album cover. My favorite Black Sabbath album cover art. It was going to be Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, but I don't know. I think my favorite maybe it's not Paranoid, though it is my favorite Sabbath album. But my favorite Sabbath album cover, man, maybe Volume 4. I love Sabotage. Yes, that is cheesy of a cover. I've seen cheesier ones. You know, although The Eternal Idol is one of my favourites. And Dehumanizer. I quite liked Cross Purposes. But I think it has to be Volume 4 or Sabotage. For now. Because they just change. Because there's so many legendary covers. Who has more cheesy songs, Aerosmith or Bon Jovi? Bon Jovi. Aerosmith are a band that I like, though I'm not a personal fan. Especially hearing some of the singles. I don't want to miss a thing. I'm sorry. I heard that song quite a bit of a bundle of times that it's just boring. It's so melodramatic. The Walk This Way collaboration cover with Run DMC, that's really getting on my nerves a bit as well. But I don't mind Aerosmith. Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is a great cover. Be Mindful and Wise, I went away from the stream because I got a shipment of 3 CDs. Ding. Of Dark Thrones, A Blaze in the Northern Sky, Judas Priest's Sad Wings of Destiny, and Trivium's Ember to Inferno. Great selections, man. Brilliant album of A Blaze in the Northern Sky. Sad Wings of Destiny is a brilliant album from Judas Priest. And Ember to Inferno, while it is like a demo-ish kind of an album, but I think that was really good. Especially, hearing the earlier version, of The Deceived. By the way, what are your thoughts on Trivium's latest album? I had done an album review of it since almost a month ago. So, the new Trivium album is really, really good, but I think earlier albums are more of the favourites for me. Be Mindful and Wise. A Blaze in the Northern Sky is a classic from Dark Throne, and the other 2 are underrated from both Judas Priest and Trivium. I think that Ember to Inferno is really underrated. I think Vengeance Falls is underrated, and that is one of my favourite Trivium albums. I love some of the songs on there quite as much as the stuff from Shogun and Sin and the Sentence. And Ascendancy is my favourite Trivium album. So I absolutely love that album. Ascendancy still holds up to this day as my favourite Trivium album. Sorry guys, just looking at some other form of social media. I know that you're a massive Oasis fan. Any thoughts on Blur? Yes, I am a big fan of Oasis. Blur, I actually like some stuff from them, but there are some that I'm not a fan of. Song 2, I just don't like. It's just got so annoying and boring. Woohoo! There we go. Almost lost my voice there, but that song just doesn't grab me. Girls and Boys, the same thing. Well, I think that one is a bit more accessible. Park Life, but Oasis, for me, I don't know why, but I just think Oasis songs are, that much more, of a bigger connection with me. Even though they are still really dismissive for many people, but I don't care. I love Oasis. I had seen Liam Gallagher live, so that was a great show. Your favourite album from John Lennon, Paul McCartney, and George Harrison? Not mentioning Ringo Starr, but I haven't heard any of his solo stuff, so yeah. John Lennon, Plastic Ono Band. For Paul McCartney, for now the first album. For George Harrison, All Things Must Pass. I need to review John Lennon's discography because I'm not really happy with my two old reviews of his first two albums. The first album means so much to me. It's my second favourite album of all time. Personally, my favourite album from any solo artist. Blue Drum Torso, are you much into death metal? If so, favourite bands? Cannibal Corpse, Carcass, Nile, Immolation, Napalm Death, even though that they are like grindcore as well. Death as well, to some other death metal bands that I like a lot. Bolt Thrower, got into them recently, well, since a few weeks actually. Suffocation, just a random selection of bands in that genre. Trivium's What the Dead Men Say is a great album. I really like it, though I still think that Bleed Into Me is my least favourite. Never really grabbed me, though I think the chorus is pretty good. And Scattering the Ashes is another one that I'm not a fan of either. Sorry for eating, by the way, guys. Blue Drum Torso again. I had Oasis soup the other day. It's like normal soup, but you gotta roll. I like that. You gotta roll with it. I never heard of Ringo Starr's solo albums. So yeah, like I said, I haven't heard any of his own solo stuff yet. I need to get into his own stuff. I'm actually looking back at the playback when I read your joke on the studio live streaming page from YouTube. Yeah, so that's a good one. It's a good one, man. I like it. So, are there going to be any more answers to favourite song from one of your favourite concept albums? Because I've done mine. Just, for some random sakes. Because I like to be involved with you guys, as you like to do the same for me. I had Strapping Young Lads, oh my fucking god, in my head, so much. It's just crazy of a song. And when I first heard it, especially with Devin's frantic verses, I just had a smile. I was like, yeah. Dream on, dream on God. Then it's so crazy. I love it so much. Sorry about that. Just some random outburst in a hyper way. I ordered Papa Roach's Infest for nostalgic reasons, but I think they get a lot of hate. What's your opinion on them? Okay, so Papa Roach were a band that I liked, but I gave up on them since one of their albums from 2012, or was it 2013? I just don't think they just aged very well, and I gave away my CDs of the Papa Roach albums I had from my CD collection um, to somebody else. So I just never had been a fan of Papa Roach. I did like them for what they were when I was younger, but they're just not for me anymore. Do you have Johnny Cash, Jerry Lee Lewis, Carl Perkins, and Roy Orbison? Not a lot. I have one Roy Orbison album. I have a few Johnny Cash albums, but not from Jerry Lee Lewis and Carl Perkins. I'm sorry. They are legends. Johnny Cash is a big inspiration to me. I love Roy Orbison. And Roy Orbison was my granddad's favourite artist. I know that this is more on a personal family side, but yeah, the last time that I heard Roy Orbison was You Got It. You Got It was my favourite Roy Orbison song, and it was that personal for me. I just wept. I wept. The reason why, well, I don't want to say a lot of it really long, but Roy Orbison was my granddad's favourite artist, but he had passed away from cancer. Although he did, I think, see him live. But when You Got It was playing at his funeral, I just wept. Oh, that was so awful of that feeling. It just made me so upset. I just wept. Anyway, yeah, Roy Orbison is a legend. I saw your review of Halloween Resurrection, and oh my god, the acting is really awful. Yes, it has been very awful. It's not aged very well. So, I'm really glad that I have almost finished the Halloween filmography. Pardon me. But I will be reviewing the last few Halloween movies, and hopefully I will see Halloween Kills this year. I have the 2018 film on Blu-ray over there. I won't say anything about it in this stream, but I will be doing a review on it. Jaws the Revenge, ouch. That movie is awful. It's also awful. I'm not kidding, guys. I have seen a lot of bad movies, and I don't want to see films that have been so bad that I'll just say that it's bad just because of those same opinions from other people. But my favourite Steven Spielberg film is Jaws, one of my top 5 favourite movies of all time. But Jaws the Revenge is for me the worst movie of all time. Emperors in the Night Side Eclipse is my favourite black metal album of all time. Blind Guardians, Nightfall in the Middle Earth. Favourite song, Into the Storm. Awesome. Emperors in the Night Side Eclipse, still one of my favourite black metal albums of all time. Really, really great. Great album. It still holds as a big, important, and strong gem of black metal. Tyler, Elvis Presley was my grandmother's favourite artist. She even went to Graceland back in the 80s with my mum and aunt when they were kids. That's awesome. If I would have liked to have my passport sorted out, I would have loved to go to Graceland to see that location from Elvis Presley's history. Have you seen the horror film Carrie from 1976 and the remake from 2013? No, I haven't seen the original or the remake. But I guess we could talk about a bit of movies. But really, the music thing is really the purpose of the stream. But yeah, I love movies, so I need to watch the original Carrie. Not sure about the remake, although some people had given it a bit of a mixed reaction. But my favourite remake has to be The Thing from John Carpenter. I had not seen The Thing from Another World yet, but I gotta say, that movie, The Thing, is amazing. It's an amazing film. 3 likes, thank you very much. 6 people viewing this. So, that was a really, really good amount. Let's keep this going, guys, for another 20 minutes until I'm going to wrap this up. But yeah, I haven't seen Carrie at all. The worst remake I have seen. For those of you that are curious, I adored the original film of The Italian Job from 1969, but I really don't like the remake. I do not like it at all. Some people like it, and I respect it. It just ruins the complete enjoyment and the big nostalgia of what the original was, and I just do not like it whatsoever. But another remake that I really hate was the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Fuck that piece of shit. Have you seen no, I've read that. Have you seen the horror film Carrie? I need to check out the original. That seems much more better receiving. Johnny Cash, sorry, said in an interview that Elvis Presley helped us where we are now. Really? Well, for Elvis being, a major big star and mentioning and being friends with other legendary greats, I guess that is, a really big thing for musicians that aren't as successful to give other musicians that would become successful as successful. That was a blast to, really be friends with one of your favorite idols of all time and to be really close. Like the Traveling Wilburys, George Harrison, Jeff Lynne, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, Roy Orbison. What are your opinions on Deftones? Hey, Mark. Deftones is one of my favourite bands. I love White Pony. I have reviewed it with EQPTB for Classic Albums Revisited. I have all of their albums on CD. Around the First, one of my favourites, and Koino Yokan. And they've never made a bad album, in my opinion. Why is this message held for review? Fuck's sakes, YouTube. Elm Street Remake sucks ass. Yes, it does. The original is really where it's at. You can't go wrong with one of the greatest horror classics of all time and one of my top favourite horror films. Done with the cake. I'm sorry. That's really the last bit. The 2012 remake of Red Dawn is the worst remake I've seen. I also don't like the 2010 Nightmare on Elm Street at all. They completely butchered Freddy Krueger in that movie. Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger, I don't mind him, but his makeup was ugly as hell. Can't stand the whole presentation of that film. I will review the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, possibly, and then I'll review that remake. Awesome. Thank you very much, Mark. Blue Drum Torso. Speaking of concept albums and horror movies, do you know the thrash band FKU? They just released a concept album called 1981. Every song is about a horror movie that came out in 1981. It's great. That is really clever to make an album like that. I'll have to check it out. Thank you, Blue. Elvis Presley recorded first at Sun Studios and later Johnny Cash came to Sun Studios. Yes, they did. They did indeed. So, yeah, we're close to 10 minutes to 2 hours, guys. It is 10:05 in the evening where I'm at. By the way, guys, if you want to follow me on Instagram, if you have an Instagram, I know you do, Tyler. It's GB Music Buff, all in one word. You can see me with a John Lennon inspired New York City shirt with a blue pretty green jacket with round shades. That's me. Thoughts on the Evil Dead films? I've only seen the first one. It's pretty freaky, but it's really good. Lots of the fans say the second one is the best one. And some say the Army of Darkness is pretty underrated. I'll have to dive into the rest of the franchise. But I'm surprised that some people say that the remake is one of the best. Okay, so I think I'm going to ask you guys this one last question for album questions. I'll have to say, which was one album or a couple of albums that took you the longest time to get into, to like, or either to love it? I would like to see your responses on that. To wrap things up, seriously, I cannot thank you guys enough for your amazing consistency of the commenting on the stream, on live chat, and for the people that are tuning in. You're all amazing. Like, even though that is like not a lot, but we will do our best. We will do our best to share the stream around to many, many more people, more viewers, and more faces for the live chat. And it's a great experience. By the way, if you want to add me on Skype, just to say hi, and if I'm free, you can add me. It's the Strong Boys 19, just my YouTube channel name, and I will add you. So it depends if I'm really in the mood, or or if I'm like that free, because I like to be productive during my time outside of YouTube, but I like to do what I like to do that makes me happy. John Lennon, without Elvis, there wouldn't be no Beatles. This quote, you can see it on Graceland. Awesome. For some of you that don't know about John Lennon, for me, John Lennon is my favourite musician of all time. He has been my favourite, pretty much since close to a decade. Sorry, I didn't hear the question. Okay, I'll say it again. Which album or albums took you the longest time to either like or love, that you were not a fan of at first, but then you got to really appreciate it so much better? Now that is a bit of a difficult one for some people. I already know which one. Which album took me the longest time to love? Captain Beefheart's Trap Mask Replica album. That album really was so original, and yet chaotic and very relevant in just in so big, explorative, and a chaotic arrangement of music. This might sound blasphemous, but for some of the longest time, I didn't really like the Beatles. I'm done. No, I'm just kidding with you. Just kidding with you, man. As Serge Tankian says, who doesn't love the Beatles? In general, no specific albums, but Rubber Soul and the White Album were the ones that got me into them. Awesome. I understand that a lot of people love the Beatles very, very much. But, just because that they are the most popular band of all time, not everyone would agree to be, citing them as, a legendary band, but millions of people do. I think it's very rare for me to ask somebody if they like the Beatles or not. Because I love the Beatles, for a long, long time. And speaking of the Beatles, guys, I am going to be doing a collection video of the stuff that I've got of the Beatles, as they still hold a big impact on my life as a musician and just a music fan. Rainbow and Deep Purple. Okay. I honestly can't think of any albums right now. There are probably a few, but I don't know. Fair enough, mate. Gracie, hello. I didn't know you decided to pop up here. Saint Anger. Really? Saint Anger took you a long time to love that Metallica album. I mean, while it is, in my opinion, Metallica's worst album, I'll give the band this. I respect what they went through from that documentary of Some Kind of Monster. There are some good tracks on there. The Unnamed Feeling, Sweet Amber. I used to like Frantic. And Saint Anger. But yeah, this album is really one of Metallica's worst tracks. Invisible Kid is their worst song, in my opinion. But the ones that I liked saves the album, despite the terrible production and the lyrics. This is awesome. Oh, thank you very much, Gracie. Fancy seeing you the first time popping onto a live stream. I love your little signs there. Thank you very much. Well, yeah, Saint Anger is really a Metallica album that I still don't like, but I have respect for the album. That's what it is. I would have to say that Metallica's discography, after the Black Album, I would still think it's consistent, even with Load and Reload, but I'm not a fan of Reload. It's really average to me. I have played it once, but I need to dive into the album again to get into it maybe better. But I still think Metallica's discography is still brilliant. Um, Maybe I will review Metallica's discography, and since that I have reviewed Lulu by them with Lou Reed, but since I'm in a metal phase and played Load a lot, I would like to revisit Metallica's thrash eras and go forward. But I've got other videos to make, guys. Like I said, the Mr. Bongle review, as I said sometimes earlier on, and I got to review the Rolling Stones Voodoo Lounge, to my reviews of the rest of the Halloween movies. I like all albums from the Beatles. They haven't got one bad album. I also like Beatles for Sale. Beatles for Sale, Let It Be used to be my least favourite, but now since last year, I got to call it one of my favourites. It's really underrated. Beatles for Sale had never really connected with me as much as like a classic album. It is a good album. I love songs like Babies in Black, I'm a Loser, 8 Days a Week, I'll Follow the Sun, Every Little Thing. Every Little Thing. Love that song. And Yes did a great cover of that too. But for me, Beatles for Sale is my least favourite. I will be diving into the Beatles discography, but I would like to do some proper in-depth reviews of each of their albums. Like, not really, really too long, but I'll try and give my proper full analysis on each Beatles album, on my opinions on their discography, because their discography is such a stellar piece of work. It took me a while, Blue Drum Torso again, it took me a while to enjoy the album um, Nesbith, Nesbith by, sorry if I mispronounced that, by the band Demilich. Sorry again. But years later, it has become one of my favorite albums ever. It's really obscure sounding death metal. I'll have to look it up. Sorry for the mispronunciation. I forgot it wasn't Rainbow and Deep Purple. It was Pink Floyd's albums. Oh, okay. So it's not those two, but Pink Floyd's discography is it's still a big relevant thing in classic rock. I understand that some people say that Pink Floyd's not for everybody, but I always love Pink Floyd, and now I love Pink Floyd as I said it here with my opinion, and now I love Pink Floyd. That's great that you do, man. I have reviewed all their albums. Um, they've not made a bad album, and not even the final cut. The final cut is not as bad as many fans say that it is. But if you haven't seen my reviews of Floyd's discography, check them out. My Budweiser's all drank, but it's really nice to see Gracie Crane coming in. That's a lovely, lovely thing to see. Anyway, I'm going to wrap this up in a minute, guys, because we have approached 2 hours. We have approached 2 hours. Gotta go, man. See ya. Thank you very much, Tyler. Thank you for tuning into the stream. So, guys, it has been 3 months since I did the last one, and it was a brilliant one, but I like this one just as much. It's all thanks to you. It's all thanks to you lot. So, when I'll be doing another live stream, I would like to do it maybe in another couple of months. Maybe sooner, maybe in a month's time. But let me know if you want me to continue doing these streams and participate and share more and more stuff. Um, Blue Drum Torso. I was once in a band called Incesticide. We used to cover the Beatles. That's awesome. Incesticide. Didn't you name yourselves after the Nirvana compilation album? Your favorite AC/DC album? It's Highway to Hell. The Bon Scott era is my personal favorite. I really like the Bon Scott era, but I mean, the Bon Scott era is where it's at personally. Than the Brian Johnson era. I love Power Rage too, which is very underrated. Bye, great live stream. Thank you very much, mate. And yeah, more streams sounds good. That is great to see as well, mate. Thank you very much. And I will be doing some more usual videos in the future. So for update videos, I really like to keep doing more album reviews for metal albums. And for the next live stream, I will make like a different topic than using the same things over and over and over again, like I'm doing now at this point in time and the previous ones, just a random hangout. We should really be doing something different, and I have to think of something different for topics and titles for future streams. But I don't really know at the moment. So yeah, thank you guys for tuning into the stream. I'm going to end this up right now. As always, I'll keep you guys posted for more